Hey, folks, welcome to the Captain's Ready Room. Now, it's the preliminary 4.5 minutes before we go live on Odyssey Radio. It's a little prep time. It's a little time to make sure I've got everything all set up. And the preliminary show, the pre-show. Hey, everyone over there, Barbie D, good to see you. And Morgan Snow, nice to see you. Roger Rabbit, Matt Finn, Master Finn, Master and Commander of this chat room. Good to see you, brother. As always, we got to catch up sometime. I think I got a message from you a long time ago, month ago, 6 weeks, and I saw it and didn't have a chance to respond to it, and I just thought of that just now. And thinking, man, I don't think I ever wrote him back. So no intention, no bad intention there, brother. Just didn't get to it. I'm sometimes really bad at that, but it all depends on where I am too. Here, I've got to turn on the link to the stream over on the radio station. That's done, and I need to start the recording. Boom, recording. And so we're now recording for the audio for the archive for tomorrow over on Odyssey Radio. So I hope everybody's doing okay. Just went to a fourth grade school concert, their last concert of the year. Very short and sweet. You know how those things are. Not always a big fan of going out and listening to a bunch of other kids sing and do music and stuff, but it was pretty good. Lasted about a half an hour or 40 minutes or something like that, and it was done. And that is actually what gave me the topic for tonight's show. And I'll probably talk about that in the show a little bit as we introduce the topic tonight, because they did some song about, grade school stuff and grade school choir, some song about hope and all of that. And it said, in the words of the song, it said, live with intention. And I thought, wow, what a great message. I've said that a million times in my life. And it was a sweet song. And I thought, I wonder if these fourth graders really understand what that means. But they're singing it. And so I thought, that might not be a bad topic tonight. I wasn't sure what I was going to speak on. And sometimes it just comes to me at the last minute, and we throw it up there, and we go. Here's a hint for you. If you ever see on Facebook my ads for the night's show with the graphic, when you see it early in the day, I've really planned it out, and that's the direction I was heading. If you see it between 7 and 8:30 in the evening, then I didn't even know what I was going to talk about until I went, aha, epiphanous moment. And I throw it up in there. So that's the way it works over here. And my brain is busy. I'm writing on Andy Dabb's book and putting that together. And so that's keeping me busy along with some other stuff. And doing tumblers for Rainey. I kind of work for her. I do all her design stuff. And so she's putting those out. And 2loonstumblers.com. You can go over there and see 2, the numeral 2, loonstumblers.com. You can see all her stuff. Okay, guys, we got about 10 seconds, so I'm going to go dark. We'll see you back here in a minute.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad so he can take me to Disneyland.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
You know how some moments in time you have those that's really not the way I wanted to say it. Sometimes you have those moments of epiphany, or those moments where a light goes on and you go, hey, I need to be thinking about that. That happened to me earlier this evening, and I'm going to tell you about it. And that's what prompted the topic for tonight. And of course, I'm Scotty Roberts. You're listening to or watching, depending on where you are, the Intrepid radio program right here on Odyssey Radio. And that's ODYSY radio.com. Come on over, see all the goodness. It's Odyssey Radio. At the same time, you can watch the simulcast in video of this show in 2 different places. One of them is over on Facebook at facebook.com/Odyssey Radio. And the other place is in my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Scotty Roberts. And you can join the live chat room that is there now, already inhabited, indwelt, and filling up with the Intrepids. And you can join that family and go over there and talk, share your views, get to know some of the people over there. And I know many of you sit out in the wings, but you can also be a participant if you'd like. It's a great place to share your thoughts and even talk about this show with the people that are there. And I can't really type in the chat room, but I sometimes address what's going on in the chat room, depending on how deep into talking I am. So welcome to the program, everybody. Everybody over there in the chat room. I see you, Master Finn, Roger Rabbit, Grumpy Stack, Michelle Canham Free. I see Elder Barry and Donna Renee Ivy. Good to see you again. And who else did I miss? Barbie D and several others are coming in. So welcome to the show. Welcome to the chat room. And as I said at the beginning, and I've said this before, there are times when ideas hit you. Sometimes they are ideas, sometimes they are spiritual guidance, sometimes they are God, sometimes they are your spirit guides, spirit beings, however you want to color that. And we get those messages at times through various and weird and diverse places and things. You could be reading a book and something will hit you. And you say, hey, I'm going to think about that a little bit more. You could be watching a movie or a television show or a commercial on TV or a song on the radio. For me tonight, it wasn't an epiphanous moment, but it was a moment where I said, you know what? That's very meaningful, and I need to, I think, talk about that tonight. And the kids, I went to my 4th graders' school spring concert. It's their last concert of the year. They've got less than 3 weeks of school left before summer hits. And, they do those spring concerts with the little bell choir and people singing and all the songs. I think it was the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade, or the 3rd and 4th grade, something like that. And they did this song as their last song. I can't remember the name of the song, There's something about hope. And it was a very it was one of those melodies to the song that was moving and happy at the same time. Yet it incorporated turns of musical phrase that had that little catch in the music that would get you and go, oh man, that's really something. The song that they were singing, one of the phrases that was repeated in the song was live with intention. And as I mentioned in the pre-show before we hit the airwaves, that was something that I wondered as I was standing there, wow, what an important thing to say and an important thing to teach fourth graders. But then I wondered, were they really taught what this song means? Or the music teacher loved the song and wanted the kids to sing it? Do those fourth graders really know what it means to live with intention? At the same time, I thought, do any of us really know what it means to live with intention? I think most of the people here have an idea of that, some more than others. I know I have talked for a long time on being awake and being aware that you're awake, your intent, your not manipulation, not motivation. What's the word? Your ability to manifest those intentions. And so intentions are like goals. They're like things that we strive for. And a life without intention is a life adrift. Do you know people like that? I do. People who don't really know what they're doing, don't really know where they're going, don't know how they're going to get there. They have no goal, no target. And that makes it sound like a business-oriented thing. It can be used for business, but it's more a personal life thing. What's your target in life? What is it you want to be? What is the intention that you want your life to express? Where do you want to go with that? And Matt Finn says in the chat room, suddenly there are more people like this than ever. Isn't that the truth? And so setting your intentions and living a life that is filled with intention was something that in that simple kid's song tonight was something that I thought, this moves me. And I wish I could have found the song and played it for you tonight. I wish I could remember how it went. Again, all I remembered was the phrase, live with intention. And so I thought that's going to be a good thing to talk about. And so I wanted us to tonight consider some of the helpful things about living a life with intention. Or you can just rephrase it, living an intentional life. And, you go look that up on the internet, you'll see the footprints in the sand and all of those kinds of things. And I was looking for a graphic for the show tonight. And I finally stumbled upon that Henry David Thoreau quote. And the quote is really amazing, very heartfelt. It was paraphrased in the movie The Young Poets or the Dead Poets Society with Robin Williams. And I'll tell you how he paraphrased it. But in Henry David Thoreau said, I went to the woods because I wanted to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life and see if I could not learn what it had to teach and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived. I did not wish to live what was not life. I wanted to live so sturdily and so Spartan-like as to put to rout all that was not life, to drive life into a corner, to know it by experience, and to be able to give an account of it in my next excursion. In the Dead Poets Society, it was expanded on and paraphrased. Robin Williams, he was saying to his students, he read something that he had written, and he said, I went to the woods because I wanted to live deliberately. And he said, I wanted to put to death all that was not life. Or as Thoreau said, I wanted to rout all things that were not life. He said, he went on and he said, I wanted to bite into the bones of life and suck out the marrow of life. And not when I came to die, only then realized that I had not yet lived. And that was the in the Dead Poets Society, that particular version of it. And thank you, Grumpy Stack. Grumpy Stack over in the chat room. Shh, Scotty's talking. And so I think that is an amazing way to live. To go to the woods, to walk deliberately, to live deliberately, to suck out the marrow of life, and to put to death all that is not life. So not that when I came to die, I'd realize I had not yet lived. And that's what I quoted Richard Feynman the other night, the theoretical physicist, astrophysicist, that was a contemporary of Einstein and Oppenheimer. And he said something about the things he believed. He says, for me, doubt is something I live with. And he says, I need my doubt. He says, because he says, I don't want to believe something, saying I know something and believe it. And yet when I come to die, realize that I was believing and knowing the wrong things. And so the quality, here's another great quote by Ralph Marston. He said, the quality of your commitments will determine the course of your life. The quality of your commitments will determine the course of your life. Think of the things that you're committed to. Your spouse, your significant other, your children, your parents, your job, your business, your craft, whatever it might be, your belief system, the things that you're committed to. And remember, I was a youth pastor once, and I used to talk to the kids in my youth group, a high school youth group. In our church where I did this, we were small enough that we combined the middle school and the high school, or it was junior high and senior high, 7th through 12th grades. And we did activities. We'd have about 50 kids once a week would come out on Friday nights or Saturday nights and do activities. And of course, every Friday night. And we did all kinds of stuff together with the groups. And I spoke to the group all the time. I taught the Sunday morning class to that group. And these were things that I always talked about. And I talked about not wasting your life. And of course, it was all in a spiritual and a religious context. But I wanted to make those things practical for those kids. Don't waste your life. And I once had the opportunity to speak a baccalaureate at the Art Institutes International, their school in Minneapolis. And 200 graduates, something like that. And I was asked by a friend of mine who worked there if I would come and speak the baccalaureate, give the baccalaureate address. And I spoke on finding your bent, finding the thing that you need to go after, and the thing that you need to live in with intention, pursuing. And those were things that have been with me, as I said at the beginning, for a very long time. Live with intention. Don't just drift through life. Have a purpose. And I believe one of the most important lessons that a person can learn, and the sooner we get it, the better for us, is live your life with intention. So sometimes this converts over into a simple life. I sometimes think my life is not very simple. My life is very complex. But when I boil it down, but that's all the trappings. It's all the outside stuff. We're not minimalists here. You can just see by my background here. I'm not a minimalist. I had books all over the place. I mean, you've seen this office, and this is only a little part of it. But, I shift the camera and you can see all the books and all the stuff over there, and the big shelves all over there going all the way down the wall that side, and all the stuff behind me, this shelf, and it all goes over onto that wall way over there. I do not live an uncluttered life, but my clutter is personal clutter. It's heartfelt clutter. It's the things I need to have around me. So I don't live a simple life in that respect. My simple life is cluttered by my stuff that is part of my life. But we can't just pick up and move. But life is a simple, living a simple life is requires intentional living. In a world that's hectic, that's busy, that's hurried. How many of you can attest to, my life's kind of busy and hectic and hurried? Simplicity isn't. In a culture that encourages selfishness and excess, minimalist living, heartfelt minimalist living, doesn't. And in a society that's rushing to gain more satisfaction with less, is counterculture. So to begin living with intention, you have to begin by laying a proper foundation and then add the practical steps on top of it. So I want to start laying that foundation. We'll see how much of this we can get through tonight. There's actually a lot of stuff out there. Stuff I've found, stuff that I've talked about before through the course of my life. But let's start with a few points. First point is realize that your life is made up of choices. Choices. Now, in all this political furor right now over renewed furor over abortion and Roe v. Wade and all of that, I have to keep reminding some of my friends that are to the far left of the spectrum that this isn't about, I keep seeing people putting up things, the Supreme Court is now going to take away my rights as a woman. Keep your laws off my body and all of this stuff that keeps regurgitating again now. And I said, you do realize that, and by the way, I had a good friend of mine on the very far left who posted something about the Supreme Court is taking away the rights of women. And I asked him just pointedly, I said, well, could you enumerate for me the rights that the Supreme Court is taking away? Silence, crickets. So when you think about it, that's not really what's going on. Now, the same thing here. Realize your life is made up of choice. Abortion is not an innate human right that should be protected by the Constitution. Abortion is a choice that somebody has the right to make. And all that's going on now is the Supreme Court looks like they're heading towards saying the federal government will no longer have a hand in that. Goes back to the states. Blah, blah, blah. That's that situation. Using that as an example of life is made up of choice. Every morning is a new full day of decisions and opportunities that are presented to you. Be they big ones or be they small ones, we have opportunities. I have an opportunity to wash the dishes when I get up from the night before. I have an opportunity to pursue some new thing that will better my family. So it's small and big things. We have opportunities all over the place. And we get to pick our attitudes. We get to pick our decisions. And you don't have to let the circumstances of your past negatively determine the pattern of your life in the future. How many of you want to be judged for things you did in the past? Now, I'm not talking about, you were a serial killer and, they dug up 33 bodies in your basement, like with, what's his name? Gacy. That comes to mind only because Rainey was watching a show on that. You don't overcome that. You can't go, well, that was my past. I don't kill people anymore and bury them in my basement. Not talking about that kind of thing. Talking about the stuff we do in life. You don't need to be stuck in the same patterns of living that you've been in for years, because you can realize that every morning is a new opportunity. You move on into something better. I'm going to turn my back on that thing or leave that thing behind that no longer serves its purpose for me and move into something better. Second thing is evaluate the culture that you're swimming in. Life isn't lived in a vacuum. It's lived surrounded by a culture that's moving somewhere. And this culture around us forms a swift downstream current. It'll pick you up and carry you downstream if you let it. And living with intention is going to require you to take a step back and evaluate the flow of the stream to determine where it's headed. Don't let the streams cross. How it's affecting you, and if it's taking you in the direction you desire. Do you want to be carried by the stream, or do you want to direct your canoe, if you will, the way you want it to go? Third thing is examine yourself. Know who you are. Isn't that what the spirit of Mufasa said to Simba when Simba sees him in the clouds? Remember who you are, he said. And know who you are. Get a strong handle on your passions. Get a strong handle on your talents and your abilities, your weaknesses. You got to get a handle on those as well. Give precious time and energy to this endeavor. It's one of the most valuable things that you're ever going to do. Now, that was all kind of under this laying the foundation for yourself. The next thing is going to be add some practical steps in living an intentional life. Decide to live your life. Your life. Stop comparing yourself to others. Be it in business, be it at your job, be it in the home life, be it with the neighbors, whatever it might be. Stop comparing yourself to other people. And I've got a little thing on this that I wanted to touch on. How to stop comparing yourself to others. Now, I've struggled with this most of my life. Theodore Roosevelt, who I love, he said, comparison is the thief of joy. Now, I've struggled with comparing myself. I've struggled with being who I think I should be compared to, God, how come all my friends my age, I know I grew up with 3 or 4 different guys who've sold businesses off in their 50s and retired with millions of dollars, while I still struggle as a starving artist. And I say, I'm sure they look at me and think I'm kind of a failure. And I compare myself to them. And I've lived most of my life comparing myself to other people. And at first, and sometimes it's subconscious, you don't even think about it. At first, it was in school, in sports, in theater. But as I got older, I began comparing other metrics, like my job title, my income level, my house size, my worldly successes, whether I have 2 cars in the driveway, whether or not I also have a boat, which a couple of my friends had. And I'm not talking little boats. I had one of my buddies I went to college with. He had a big boat, like a 37-footer with a cabin underneath and a kitchen and all that. And it was a cool boat, a river boat. And I thought, how come I don't have that? I need to be working toward that. But I've discovered that there's an infinite number of categories on which we can compare ourselves and an almost infinite number of people to compare ourselves to. Doesn't end. And with how flooded we are by social media, there's nothing that's private anymore, unless you keep yourself private. You keep off of it. But I mean, for overall, most people kind of have an idea who you are out there. Thousands of people. And there's an infinite number of those people to compare ourselves to. And we have to constantly find someone better to compare ourselves to, which only serves to make us feel bad about ourselves. So once we begin down that road, there's no end to it. How come I don't have a radio show that has 45,000 listeners? I think about that sometimes, and I compare myself to people I know who do, that are contemporaries. And I think, well, why? What have I done wrong? What am I doing wrong? Why don't I have that many listeners? And I forget to think about the quality of the people who are here as opposed to the number of listeners. And I would start to gauge myself by the comparison. Not so much now. I mean, I used to, a little more than I do now. The tendency to compare ourselves to others is as human as any other emotion. And certainly I'm not alone, I'm sure, in this experience. But it's a decision that only steals the joy from our lives. Comparison is the thief of joy, said Teddy Roosevelt. And it's a habit with numerous shortcomings. I've got a bunch of bullet points here. Comparisons are always unfair. We typically compare the worst we know of ourselves to the best we presume about others. You realize that, don't you? Comparisons by definition require metrics, but only a fool believes every good thing can be counted or measured. What are the intangible things that you can't count? By measures, by metrics. Comparisons rob us of precious time, those irreplaceable moments of time in our lives. We each get 86,400 seconds each day. And believe me, I'm not good at math. You know how long it took me to come up with that? And using even one to compare yourself to your accomplishments to another person is 1 second too many. You're too unique to compare fairly. Your gifts, your talents, your successes, your contributions and value are entirely unique to you and your purpose in this world. They can never be properly compared to anyone or anything else. They're unique to you. Hey, Brianna Learman, over in the chat room. Good to see you. Good to see you, says Rainey. She's mocking me. You're mocking me. Buzz Lightyear line. So you have nothing to gain but much to lose. For example, your pride, your dignity, your drive, and your passion. That's what you lose in comparisons. There's no end to the possible number of comparisons. Now, the habit can never be overcome by attaining successes. There will also be something or someone else always to focus on. I don't remember who this was, but it's an illustration I heard, a short one used in ministry days. We'd hear our pastor, and he mentioned somebody, and this incredibly wealthy person, like an Elon Musk, was asked, how much more money do you need to feel successful? And his answer was, just a little bit more. Comparison puts focus on the wrong person. You can control one life, yours. But when we constantly compare ourselves to other people, we waste precious energy, focusing on other people's lives, their accomplishments, the place they've reached in life, all of those things rather than our own lives. Comparison, again, said Teddy Roosevelt, comparison robs joy. Now, I'm going to tell you, there's somebody just popped up in the wings here. It's Mr. Burgles. He's calling into the show, and he's wearing some kind of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre mask or something. And so, Mr. Burgles, if you can hear me out there, you can just sit out there in the wings. I'm not bringing you into the show. So, comparison puts the focus on the wrong person because you are unique. You can only control your own life. Comparisons often result in resentment. Good night. I love you too.
Who's
I'll talk to you later. Nobody. That's nobody out there. That's my daughter, Ro, stepping in to say goodnight. And during the live radio show. And she was pointing at Mr. Burgles and said, "Who is that?" I said, "Nobody." "You're nobody, Mr. Burgles. Go get a life." Comparisons often result in resentment. That's resentment toward others, resentment towards ourselves. Comparisons deprive us of our joy in life. They add no value, no meaning. There's no fulfillment to our lives. They only distract from it. So the negative effects of comparisons are wide, they're far-reaching. Likely you've experienced or are experiencing many of them firsthand in your life as well. Mr. Burgles is sitting in the wing here, trying to compare himself to the happy, joyful people that are part of this program, that are part of the Intrepid family. He's never going to get there doing what he's doing. So how then might we break free? And he's still there, by the way. How then might we break free from the habit of comparison? And there's tips on how to stop this. Be aware of its ill effects. Take notice of the harmful effects comparing yourself to others has on your life. Intentionally remove that from your life, from the inside out, to free yourself from the damage that this mindset has on you. See your own successes. Elevate those. That's not selfishness. That's see your successes. Whether you're a writer, a musician, a doctor, an artist, a landscaper, a mother, a student, a stay-at-home mom, a stay-at-home dad, a mechanic, plug in anything you have there. You have a unique perspective backed by unique experiences and unique gifts. And you have the capacity to love, to serve, to contribute. You have everything you need to accomplish good in your little corner of the world. Even Mr. Bungles, Mr. Burgles, has the capacity to accomplish good in his own little corner of the world. But he has to make his choices. So with that opportunity squarely in front of you, you have to become intimately aware of your past successes. You have to find motivation in those things to pursue more. What are you doing over there, Rainey?
Finding my own happiness.
She's finding her own happiness. Well, that makes me happy too. I'm just saying. It works for me. Desire the greater things in life. Some of the greatest treasures in this world are hidden from sight. Love, humility. Now, you can see the outpouring of these things. I'm just talking about the innate things. Love, humility, empathy, selflessness, generosity. So among these higher pursuits, there's no measurement. Desire them above everything else and remove yourself entirely from society's definitions of success. And that's really hard to do, especially when you are part of society. Next point is complete less and appreciate more. There might be times when competition is appropriate, but life is not one of them. We've all been thrown together at this exact moment. All of us right now. Those of you listening to this show, those of you chatting in the chat room. All of us are thrown in together right now. I'm thrown in together with you. Some of you I have very close personal relationships with. Others, I only know you on this show. Others, I know you very superficially. But we've all been thrown together at this exact moment, in this exact point in time on this planet. And the sooner we stop competing against others to win, the faster we can start working together to figure it out. Right? The first and most important step in overcoming the habit of competition is to routinely appreciate and compliment the contributions of others. Now, sometimes it's kind of tough. Sometimes you go, damn it, that person stepped on my thing. And that pisses me off. They put themselves in competition with me. And I don't like that. But you got to look for ways to practice gratitude. Gratitude always forces us to recognize the good things we already have in our world. Remind yourself that nobody is perfect. Except for Rainey, she said. Perfect in almost every way. While focusing on the negatives is rarely as helpful as focusing on the positives, there's important space to be found remembering that nobody's perfect, except Rainey. And nobody is living a painless life. You know, when I look to complaining about my physical stuff, and I get to talk about it because it's my show and I talk every day to a public audience. Sometimes I talk about my junk. You know what? Every single time I do that, I realize, and many times I say, I know we've all got our bucket of shit we have to deal with. Everybody's got a life. Everybody's got their stuff. Nobody is living a painless life. Triumph requires an obstacle to be overcome. And everybody's suffering through their own, whether you're close enough to know it or not. Even the people that look fantastic. Wow, he's got a handle on life, doesn't he? She does. We don't know their personal pains, the stuff they go through. So take a walk. Next time you find yourself comparing yourself to others, get up and change your surroundings. Go for a walk, even if only to the other side of the room. Allow the change in your surroundings to prompt change in your thinking. Sitting and stewing in one spot I tend to do that. I would have to get up and go clear my head a bit. So find inspiration without comparison. Comparing our lives with others is foolishness. But finding inspiration, learning from others is entirely wise. Work hard to learn the difference. Humbly ask questions of the people who admire, or read biographies as an inspiration of people, who inspired me very much in my early days when I was in seminary and I was in youth ministry. I read and this is a totally spiritual book and element, but I read the biography of Jim Elliot. And some of you may remember who Jim Elliot was. If you remember, his wife wrote the book Through Gates of Splendor. Jim Elliot was one of the 5 missionaries who in 1957 was killed by the Auca Indians. Excuse me, in Ecuador. They were bush pilots. Don't laugh. Rainey's laughing over there. What are you, Scotty? I'm a bush pilot. I wish. Did you say I wish? I know I'm a bush pilot. I don't have to compare myself to anybody else. A hedge pilot, she said. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Stop talking to me. It's my radio show, damn it. All right. So, but Jim Elliot, they were bush pilots in Ecuador, and they would start by dropping gifts from this little I think it was a Cessna or a Piper. And they would drop gifts to the Auca Indians, who didn't have much contact with the outside world at that time, 1957, 3 years before I was born. And they finally found a place on the river to land the plane. And they met some of these people. And then they came back another day. They went out, and the wives all said, hey, we'll see you for dinner. And they never came home. And several days passed, and they finally sent out a search party to find them. And they found the plane on the beach next to the river. It was all torn to pieces. And they found the bodies of the 5 guys floating in the river and other places right around the site there. And it ends up that they were, the Aucas had killed them because I don't know if there was somebody in the tribe that said we need to fear them, we need to kill them. But the amazing thing is that Jim Elliot, who was kind of the leader of these guys, his wife went back into the bush with her small children and ministered to those same Indians that had killed her husband. And she lived quite a long life there. And then she came back to the United States. She died more recently, I think within the last 5 or 6 or 7 years, something like that. She wrote several books and stuff. She was a pretty inspirational woman. But her husband, Jim Elliot, had written, I had his diaries, is what I had, his journals of Jim Elliot. And I was reading that, and he kept talking about the things that would guide him in his life. It was his personal journals that his wife compiled and put into this book. And he said something that's almost cliche now, but we're talking over 60 years ago. He was saying, the life that burns the brightest burns the least. The candle is the shortest. And he used to talk about the things that he would do to give his life for his cause. He said, I don't ask of God a long life, but I ask, he said, a intentional life. If comparison is a consistent tendency in your life, notice which attitudes prompt positive change and which result in negative influence for you. Compare with yourself. We ought to strive to be the best possible versions of ourselves, not only for the benefit and contribution we can offer to others, but also to ourselves. Work hard to take care of yourself physically, emotionally, spiritually. Commit to growing a little bit each day and learn to celebrate the little advancements you're making without comparing them to others. So with so many negative effects inherent in comparison, it's a shame we ever take part in it. But the struggle is real for most of us. Unfortunately, it doesn't need to be. And the freedom found in comparing less is actually quite worth the effort. So going back to the adding practical steps and how to live an intentional life, this first point was decide to live your life by stop comparing yourself to others. You weren't born to live their life or somebody else's life. There's no sense in wasting yours being jealous of theirs. Instead, you were born to live your life, so determine today to be good at it. After all, you only get one shot at it, right? You might be reincarnated. I don't know that for sure. Jury's out on all that stuff for me. As far as we know, we get one chance. Even if you're reincarnated, you're somebody else. So you get one chance to be who you are in this life. So define a purpose. Identify what you want for your life to communicate to and contribute. Find a passion to live for that's bigger than yourself. Write it down. It's going to bring new meaning to your life. It'll wake you from the slow death of only living for yourself. Now, by the way, you can have goals and do things. I like to travel. I like to go places. I've been a lot of places. Those were goals, and those were good times and good memories. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the more deep inner goals of life. So set your goals. Goals move us. Our goals shape us. And you got to set goals that are directly in line with your defined purpose. By their very nature, those goals are going to introduce intentionality into your life. I want you, if you're listening now, if you're watching now, I want you right now to decide and look at yourself, examine self and say, am I living intentionally? Am I setting goals? Am I doing this? Then you have to stay focused. We live in a world of constant connectivity and distraction that's begging for our attention nearly every moment of the day. Learn to turn off the distraction and live your life instead. Turn off the TV. Don't read gossip magazines. Oh, who cares? Gossip magazines. Don't read worthless bile, unless it's for research like I do. Remove nonsensical, non-essential physical belongings that are robbing you of time, robbing you of energy that could be better spent living with intention. And then learn from others. Successful people are curious people. They possess the humility to learn from other people. They identify people accomplishing, and they identify the people that accomplish their purposes and their goals, and they want to do that for themselves. Then study them and learn from them. I'm not talking about comparison. I'm talking about learning from those people. The worst thing you could ever waste in your life. Instead, commit yourself to intentional living and being somebody that lives with that. Oh, I have more stuff here. Talking about being minimalist in our lives. Talking about overcoming envy and jealousy in our lives. The things that rob us of the things that we need to have and need to be. Those are for another night. I'm not going to get into those. I got all this stuff up in front of me that we could do. Envy is ignorance, said Ralph Waldo Emerson. Jealousy. That's all I'm going to say about that. Very few people would argue for the positive influence of jealousy. You got to get that out of your life. It fosters discontent and distress. It binds our freedom, leads to resentment and bitterness, causes us to do the things that we wouldn't normally do, and it can spiral us into depression. So you have to shift your focus to the goodness in your life. Remind yourself that nobody has it all. Avoid people who habitually value the wrong things. Spend time with grateful people. How many people do you get around and hang with that are constantly pissing and moaning and complaining about every sad little bitchy thing in their life? They're ungrateful. Hang around with grateful people. Look for people who build you up. It's like my son Sam, who most of you know if you're a listener to this show. Had a thing with his mom a couple of weeks ago. And I may have talked about that on here, or I talked about it to somebody, but she was continually downing him. He doesn't have a relationship with her. And frankly, she doesn't deserve to have a relationship with him. And she was texting him, trying to convince him what a bad person he was. So just a couple of weeks ago. And he's texting me, he called me. And he says, man, Dad, I'm struggling with this. And as we're talking, we weren't talking 10 to 15 minutes. And he says, Dad, I've gotten 13 new text messages from her since you and I started talking, all telling me the same kind of thing, that he needs to grovel at her feet for forgiveness. He doesn't need her forgiveness for anything. She needs his, in my opinion. This is that same person I've talked to you when you've heard elements of my personal story, that when my twin daughters were 3, had claimed it was sexually abusing them, had claimed it was battering her, taken my kids into hiding. I told that whole story about that and how we overcame that, how I overcame those false accusations. And this is the same mom he's got doing this to him now. And he doesn't want to have anything to do with her. And I said, Sam, the best thing that you can say, hey, Brianna, I have my twin daughters. You know my twin daughters, Abby and Bryn? Brianna asked that in the chat room. She is my, I'm almost over with this show. You're standing staring at me. What do you need?
I just got locked out.
Got locked out of what?
The garage.
How?
I don't know. I walked out there, and when I turned around and come back in, the door was locked. I did not get went off the couch.
Happens to me now and then. Randy's bringing up a totally different topic. We'll talk about this sometime. We get the doors locked on us sometimes, not by the kids. She just walked out in the garage and walked out to grab something, turned around back, and the door was locked. Happens around here. Anyway, all this stuff about gratitude, all this stuff about spend time with grateful people. That's the last thing I have time to say. And so I want to thank you all for being here. We're almost done. We're almost wrapping this baby up tonight. We've got about a little less than a minute left of this show already. And so thank you for being here. If you haven't gotten The Sword in the Clay, my newest book, go get it, theswordintheclay.com. We've got, for those of you who ordered it, by the way, the shipment will be here on Monday. I just found out today. Be delivered on Monday, and we'll be shipping out books. So go get it if you want a copy of it. And folks, thank you again for being here. Thank you for giving me your time, taking your time to give it to me. I appreciate that more than you can know. So we're going to get out of here. And so you know what? Live long and prosper.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
All right. Hope you stuck around for the captain's cabin. Here, I'm going to unplug my headset, so I got to turn my computer. There we go. If you saw my computer, you'd understand what I have to do. It's huge, huge computer. So I got to swivel it on its thing and get back behind there. Let me cut off the, there we go. The stream is cut off, so we don't have any feedback now. And let me stop the audio recording for tonight. Boom. There we go. All right. And I'm sorry I didn't interact much with the chat room tonight. But you probably all had some pretty good things to say. Matthew Sainsbury, you're talking about Johnny Quest again. It's nice. I like the old and the new series, Sailor Moon. I like Johnny Quest. I love the old Johnny Quest from the 60s. Saw that when I was a little kid, like 4 years old, that came on TV, and I remember we used to watch it. So, let's see. I'm just going to look back and see if anything. Roger Rabbit says, I think I have a headphone extender. If I can find it, I'll mail it to you, Scotty. Oh, thank you. You could just leave it plugged in and reachable. There you go. Yeah, I've just got earbuds right now. I used to have the big old headset, you know, all us guys in radio doing radio together. We all had the big headsets. I had one that was Bob Marley headset. It was called. It was the brand name, Bob Marley, and they were kind of these little looking World War II-ish almost looking things, leather, brown leather, and the black and the metal, and they were very cool. They fell apart one day. The screw just came out. I could never quite get them to go back together the right way again. So I think I picked those up at a garage sale once. So several years ago. Matt Finn says it probably rubs these people the wrong way, Morgan, but I can't take what I don't give. My time and energy is important. Well, there you go. I don't know the context of that, but I could probably find it pretty easily. Yeah, Brianna Lehrman. I have twin daughters. That became a joke with her and John and I. Because I would always preface it by, my twin daughters, Abby and Bryn. It's just a habit. It's a way I have of speaking. And John goes, oh, you have twin daughters? Bree would say, oh, Abby and Bryn? are twins. So it's just a way I speak. So that's what she was referring to. Score, Captain, says Michelle Kenham Free. Bob Marley and the Wailers. Yes. Yeah, it was a great headset. It was like it was an expensive headset. I bought them at a garage sale. They're gone now. They got broken or lost because they were broken. And they'd always travel back and forth to remote things that we would do, Rocky and John and I, and stuff like that. And anyway. Ha! Michelle Cadamfree laughed at Bush Pilot. See that? Rainey said it was more like a hedge pilot. So anyway, David Castle, good to see you. I didn't see you earlier. Glad you're here. And boop, 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 a doop, a doop, a doo. We only had about half the listeners tonight for this topic compared to Bigfoot last night. That's interesting. Sometimes there are certain topics that are going to bring people in droves. So that was a fun topic to talk about. Roger Rabbit says, with great beauty comes great pain in this world. Great responsibility comes great power. Something like that. Thank you, Uncle Ben. So, Brianna says, tell Rainey to check her texts. She is now not down here. She stepped upstairs for something. So she'll be back down. I'll see her in a few minutes anyway. I think. Hey, Rainey, check your texts, Brianna says.
I was out making tumblers.
Oh, what tumblers did you make?
These ones.
Oh, for Pat?
That's, yeah, and then Lila's boyfriend with the bike.
Whose? Oh,
Lila's.
I didn't even see that one.
I'm hot.
Oh, you're hot.
I'm
Hot.
I feel like
Come
what?
here. We're going to say, hi, hot.
Hi.
There. She's hot. Hot. Hot.
I'm checking my text messages.
Yeah, that's for Brianna. I don't know if she's still there, but I saw it way back there. Oh, there. She's there. She already saw it, she says.
Yeah. I saw it.
You saw it?
I looked.
Okay. Well, cool.
She cricketed some names on the, I can't think of what those are called.
I have no idea.
The little pot.
Plastic pots? Plastic cups?
Plastic cups.
Plastic cups.
Yeah, super cute.
With straws.
Yeah, straws and everything. And they probably change colors when it's cold and when it's hot.
Oh, yeah. There's that.
Right?
So, Matt Finn says, is it somewhere in a box in the garage? I don't think he's talking to me. Oh, I think I have a headphone extender, he said Roger Rabbit.
Nice. Hi, Barbara D.
Barbie D. Matthew Sainsbury enjoyed the Bigfoot show last night, especially that mysterious roar video. Yeah, right.
We were just watching Paranormal Caught on Tape or Caught on Video today.
Yeah.
And Scotty said he thought that was the same clip that he used from
Oh,
last
yeah.
night.
Yeah, we saw something on that show.
Right?
So it's from Ontario.
Hello, Matthew.
Score, Captain, says Michelle. Well, I think I read that. I'm not sure what that was. Oh, she's talking about the Bob Marley headset. Remember those that I had?
My jugs have been labeled a long time ago.
What did he say? Oh, you labeling jugs yet?
Your woman's
this one is
your woman's
mine.
jug is on its way.
Yes, it is. Matt, it hit the mail.
Yes.
So
We did a big post office run today.
yes, we did. We
Yeah.
mailed up a bunch of tumblers and mugs.
Mm-hmm. I think we're almost to the point where we can call to have pickups.
Yeah, just
Kinda
about.
nice. Yeah.
Growlers, says Sean Stroik. Matthew Sainsbury says hi, Rainey.
I said hi.
Oh, okay.
That was a while ago.
Oh, it's right there.
I know. I said hi to him.
It's only 3 comments back.
I said hi to Matthew.
All right.
I already said hi to you, Matthew.
She did.
Oh my goodness.
Anyways, you got more mugs you're making up? More tumblers?
Yeah, I'm gonna go get these ones ready to go, so
All
they
right.
can go with Ma when she goes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know she was still here.
Yeah, she's still there.
All right.
She's laying down with Ellie. She wants noodles.
All right. That's good.
That is why there's not kids out here running around.
Yeah,
yelling
because
and screaming.
Grandma's here.
But we also took them rock picking for an hour and a half, and they're pooped out.
They are.
So
Flynn found a piece of quartz. They went rock picking and
not quartz.
where they're
fossil.
no, the big quartz piece.
Oh,
It's about that big, about the size of
I
a
didn't see
huge
it.
baked
well, I
potato.
didn't see it, but I didn't see
Piece of
it.
quartz that they found. They go out to the sites where they're.
I'm gonna yell up. I'll be right back.
Yeah, have them bring it down.
Damn.
Watch out for the Millennium Falcon. Don't trip over the Millennium Falcon. Oh, look at that. Come here, Flynn. Say hi. There's Flynn. There's my boy. Look at the size of that piece of quartz he found. I don't know if I can get it close enough that you can tell that it's quartz. Look at that. There you go. That thing is massive. Here you go, bud. That's pretty neat, huh? Found that in building sites where they're building new houses down the road and digging up the ground. And so they go rock picking. So Spider-Man, that's right. So
They are putting up 262 single unit homes.
yeah,
That's
that's
a lot.
crazy. Over by the school, 262 single unit homes.
Here comes.
What's he got? Oh, the fossil. Yeah, you do it.
Fossil, look at this. Fossilized poop.
I don't know what it is.
Some sort of coral.
Coral. Okay.
Let's see. I gotta go this way, and then we can go this way. It's hard to see. We gotta go back that way.
Ah,
Ah! Oh, that's too bright.
it is. The light is really hard to adjust in here.
Go closer. No, it's too bright.
Here, I'll take it this
You
way.
figure it out. I don't
Let me
know.
do this. If I bring it all the way up here, you can see some
Oh,
of the
there we
detail.
go.
It's a little fuzzy up close, but there. Fossilized coral out here in the middle of farm fields.
Well, I think it's coral. We don't know for sure.
It looks like it could be.
Mhm.
So, but we found other fossils out there. Seashell fossils. Little tiny seashells fossilized
Yeah.
out here in farmers'
Suppose I
fields.
Probably could stand this way instead of just having
So-
my boob in the picture.
What? Why? How were you standing?
I know. Let's
Show me how you were standing.
A boob and an elbow. Hi.
Boob and elbow.
Hi. Hi.
So you can bring those over here. I'll take those over here. So,
There used to be a giant lake a long time ago.
I'm
That's
sure, yeah, down into Wisconsin and Minnesota and all that. This used to all be
We're really not far
underwater.
from the St. Croix River.
St. Croix River is not far. Well, a few miles. The Intrepid Shopping Network with your host, Rainey and Scotty.
Hey, you want to buy a coral?
Want to buy some coral?
Got some
Want to buy a
rocks.
rock? I got a rock for you.
I brought home a huge piece of jasper. Did you see my rock out there?
I did.
It's cool, isn't it?
Very cool. Big piece of jasper about this big she brought home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Had to weigh, I don't know, like 40 pounds. It was heavy.
It's crazy. So,
I struggled in the backpack. So, anyways, I'm going to go hang out with my ma
All
before
right.
she goes.
go hang out. I'll see you in a few.
Yeah, that's funny, Dave. Uncle Dave.
What did he say? So you're the first fossils he started collecting. Ain't that the truth?
Look at this
Yeah.
fossilized bone.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to bed. Good night.
Mm. I love it when you talk about fossilized bone. Oh my goodness. Tell Barb we say hi, says Brianna. She will. So, Sean Stroik, I think he laughed at your joke. All right, what's with my thing here? There we go. All right. Rainy's funny sometimes. That's right. That's right. Matt Finn says maybe feathers would have been easier to collect. Feathers would be easier to collect. Yeah. Hi. Hedge pilot. So, what's anybody want to talk about? I don't have a lot of time. Tomorrow's Friday, so it'll be a little more open-ended tomorrow. Bananas. Yeah. Duh. So, folks, people just seeing this for the first time or in archive, this is the Captain's Cabin. This is the after show. It gets a little less formal in here. It's 11:11, says Barbie D. It's only 10:11 here. She's out on the East Coast somewhere. Somewhere. Feathers tickle, says Sean Stroik. No, science tickles. Remember that one? She does. That's from our earliest days. Science tickles. You can all figure that one out. It was just something that got coined between Rainey and I. All right, have fun with your mugs. Yes. I'm going to be done very soon here because I am tired.
Rowan, get off your phone.
Not supposed to be on your phone. Unless Mom lifted the restriction.
I did not.
Okay. Matt Finn says after hours is where we loosen the tie and unbutton the top button. I got snaps. So, oh well, I shouldn't do that. Don't want to get all the women in the chat room hot and bothered. So, Dave Potter says, talk to me about Strange New Worlds. Did you like it? I loved it. Thought it was very good. Folks, if you haven't seen it,
I fell asleep.
Rainey fell asleep, but she was tired.
I was really tired.
The premiere of Star Trek Strange New Worlds aired today. First episode of that. Now, I had read that they had wanted to make this series a lot less like a lot of the series you've seen lately, where they are story arcs that last the whole season to resolve, and that they wanted to take this and go back to the original concept of the original Star Trek series, which was more episodic adventures in each episode. And so it was a pretty good show tonight. They laid some of their groundwork. Captain Pike, definitely a sufferer of PTSD. If you saw the second season of Discovery, you'll know what that's all about. But even in the very first Star Trek pilot back in 1965 or 66, the show aired in 66. It was a year before that, where Jeffrey Hunter was playing Captain Pike in 1965. The opening scenes with Pike and his friend, the Doctor, who wasn't Bones McCoy, this is different, Enterprise before the time of Kirk, is that he was suffering PTSD then. And so is what people had said. This Pike that comes across, and he wasn't written that way, but the one that comes across is somebody that was suffering a little PTS. And so it's interesting. And there's reasons he does, if you haven't seen the Discovery season. So very good stuff. And they mentioned a couple of times through the show, Lieutenant Kirk was assigned a certain, and he says, well, Lieutenant Kirk is reporting to the bridge, sir. And Lieutenant Kirk comes on the bridge, and it's none other than Sam Kirk. Eventually Captain Kirk's, it's his father, which was played by the guy who plays Thor, Hemsley, in J.J. Abrams' movie. The opening scenes of J.J. Abrams' Star Trek back in 2009 was, God, is it that long ago already? Yeah. What was that, 13 years ago? It was Hemsworth. Hemsworth. Guy who plays Thor. He played Kirk's father in that show, in the opening scenes. So it was very cool. Brianna Learman, much love to you too. See you later. Hey, Leslie Holker. I don't know, did you just sneak in here, or have you been here the whole time? Oh, you must have just come in. I see something about being on the road. Hey, Durwood. Good to see you. The show's almost over. Well, it was over at about 20 minutes ago. We're just in the after show right now. So good to have you here. And, oh, you have a trip tomorrow, Leslie. So you should be in bed. You get to sleep. You can sleep. Let Andy drive. We're not going to be much longer here. So, oh, you have Amelia tonight. That's pretty cool. So, fun, says Rainey. So, I know he's a sky god with a hammer, says Matthew Sainsbury. Yeah, I'm talking about the Marvel Thor. So in the movies and the comic books for years. So let's see. Thor's hammer was like the lightning bolt. As for Zeus, says Matthew Sainsbury. You're absolutely correct. So, but it was that same actor, of course. So, well, for those of you just arriving, we're going to be ending this now. I hate to tell you, there's not much more. I got not much more life in me tonight. Pretty done. Pretty baked, but not in the good sense. So I think we're going to call it quits, but we're going to be back tomorrow. And, I'm going to be doing a little show over the weekend with Russ Haslage, the former owner of Odyssey Radio. He asked if I would do a once-a-week show with him. It's going to air on Odyssey, I do believe. A Star Trek show, just one night a week. We're going to record on Saturday, and we're going to kind of follow the season of Strange New Worlds, and we're going to critique and talk about it and talk about Star Trek and all of that stuff. So I'll let you know when a date comes up for that. But it might be Thursdays, he said. So anyway, there you go. That's all I got. That's all I know. You had kids around today, Scotty. They really can be draining in a good way. Yeah, well, they're here all the time. But, yeah, there are. Oh, you going to do that taking off your shirt thing?
Nope, that one comes off now.
Oh, it came off easy this time.
That's because I wore it like 3 days.
I see. Rainy, guys, you're missing. It's the best part of the evening at the end of my show. Yeah, she changes in the office. So I think she just does that for me. That's where her basket, she got a basket of clothes over there. So her boxers and tank tops she wears to bed. So anyway, so it works for me. All right, everybody, take care. As Barbie D just said, as Michelle Canham Free said, as Matt Finn says, have a great night, everyone. Sean Stroik says, light your fire. Roger Rabbit says the same thing. Have a good night. And everybody down the line and backwards in the chat room. Much love, says Michelle Canham Free. And Leslie, you have a good night. Steph Cuervo Queen, Oh, sorry you missed it. Yeah, we were done about a half an hour ago. Well, 20 minutes ago. So the show now effectively runs from, I think you're out east, right, Steph? Can't remember where you are exactly again. Central time, we run from 9 to 10 o'clock. And then we do the after show. So, sorry, Steph. But tomorrow night, Uncle Dave should be with us for the after show. And who knows? We went a couple hours, no, almost 3 hours one night, didn't we? Uncle Dave. Thank you, Matt Finn, for that. So sorry you missed it. Sorry to have missed you, Steph. Cuervo Queen. But we must be on our way. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you for making this show a priority. I appreciate that. You don't know what that means for me. It means a lot to me that you would be here. So you all have a good night. You all have a good rest. And you know what? We'll see you tomorrow. Good night. Live long and prosper. Let me just pop back in for a second. Lalanya asked an important question. When will the replay be up? I think you can watch the replay of this show on my YouTube channel almost like right now. I think you can go over to my YouTube channel and click on tonight's show. You won't be able to see the chat room. That usually takes about 24 hours to propagate to see the chat. So it'll be tomorrow. The audio replay will be up tomorrow morning over at Odyssey Radio. So that's all I got. All right. Now, like Ferris Bueller said, he said, what are you still doing here? Go home. Good night.